definitely. He's across the interstate down towards the. Albertsons and Maverick Station now.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, we'll go ahead and call this county meeting together. It's Wednesday, February 7th. The time is 2 p.m. So the comments, if you'd like to come up and speak, please keep it to 3 minutes or less and state your name for the record. Our city recorder and manager will be taking notes of action if needed.
Steve Topaz, 360 St. Helens Street. I'm gonna kind of reminisce, I used to be on the city council. And a couple of things to be noted. The city council is responsible for everything in the city. If these guys over in Public Works screw up, it's the city council's problem. If the city council says do this, theoretically they're supposed to do that. A message system is the city council decides something, the message is given to John makes sure it gets done. When back in 2021, city council gave the word that we're to have 2 policemen, and that didn't happen. City council was never informed on that. The reason I'm bringing that up, I've been going through my old notes. As many of you know, I keep all paper. I get the packet and I still have all those sheets of paper. So I started comparing notes, dates. And one thing jumped out at me just recently. We have a resolution 1930. We have 2 of them. One is acceptance of a $3,049,000 ARPA grant, and another one for 1930 is a $22 million possible money affecting or generating system. Next piece of information I just recently got was the application for a bond. The bond application's dates, and this gets to be important, was given to the city August 31st at 5:45. This is a 273-page document. It was issued September 1, 2021. It was made public September 14th, 2021. No place in my records has showed city council approved going after a bond or reviewing the bond application. The next part was going over the bond application. It was noted that all the council, including myself, voted for this. And this was supposedly okayed by a resolution. The paperwork says resolution, no number on it. Going back over dates, the 1930 resolution was enacted after this bond application was started. Bond application was started by John Walsh's assistant, Matt Brown. He also indicated he was authorized to do that. As we've come to know, we have some financial problems in tracking back through the paperwork. I'm seeing a number of the same things with different dates, different amounts on the paperwork I have. I'm glad it doesn't match some of the electronic paperwork that's out there. We have a problem, and I think we better find out where all these numbers, dates match, because right now, the paper that I got when I was on council, and people make jokes about me with the actual packet versus the electronics does not match.
Thank you.
May I? You need my name?
Yes.
Nancy Whitney.
Nancy.
I'm gonna talk fast, so please listen closely. All right. I first want to know under what principles of governing this council has ordained that they have the right to add charges to my water bill, and under which they also believe they have the right to spend in whatever fashion they choose. And secondly, I would ask if this council is aware of the lawsuits which took place in Portland under similar circumstances brought by private citizens. the outcome of which ended in all money collected under this principle of governing to be returned to the citizens who paid it and cost the city of Portland nearly $3 million in attorney fees. Finally, when the decision was made to put a levy on the May ballot in order to build a new police station, I was thrilled. This is what the citizens have been seeking for over 2 years. Then I can't understand why Councilman Gunderson stated in the paper and in public that if the levy did not pass, they would simply up the water bill another $25 a month, as he previously planned. And, you know, that not only is unfair coercion, that's flat out blackmail. And I want answers on these. Can I leave you a copy of this? Okay.
Make sure, actually, can you hit it, Kathy, so we can all log out there, go in the record, and we will get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Okay, other visitor comments?
My name is Ron Tromlitz. The council members are not subjects of the words that are relayed at your meetings. For you, it is information. My concern is John Walsh and client privilege. The W49 reservoir reelevation began October 1st, 2016, and the work was completed in October of 2019. Western Partition ceased working and stated to continue would not prove successful. This should have began an immediate third-party investigation. What caused WPI's inability to rehabilitate the leaking? There was a delay of 30 months of inaction. The reservoir failure continued today. It's 5 years with an empty reservoir. We have heard numerous plans for repair, rebuild, and then replacement. The city's delays increased the cost of the replacement, and during this time, the reservoir was off the priority list. The excuse was because of the litigation, mitigation, and arbitration. The delay was deficient water storage and gambling with the city's fire protection. The statement agreement was signed by John Walsh, allowing Western Partition's Carboline and Kennedy Jenks to state they had no liability for the 2 million gallon reservoir rehabilitation failure. That leaves the city of St. Helens the sole responsible party for this reservoir rehabilitation failure. The city is the owner and had control of the sequence of events, beginning with the city's diagnosis that painting would resolve the water loss. The city is now accepting responsibility while allowing the others to state no liability. The city has accepted an empty, damaged reservoir, but claimed it was a result of workmanship. The December 2017 assessment, the city was a party that could, with the consensus that the liner was not the cause of excessive water loss. I sent 9 people an email listing the areas controlled by the city. This explains the city's participation. My belief this all contributed to the reelevation's failure. This is when the mayor told me he would not discuss the issue and that there was no smoking gun. Facts matter, and the city uses silence to hide the truth. A list of issues recorded in the January 24th email can be found in the city's files. I couldn't believe those listed were damaging enough that the city attorney advised John Walsh to claim client privilege. John is withholding the Walker Consultants report that contains something more. This is an injustice to the public for discovering the cause of the 2 million gallon rehabilitation failure. I don't believe client privilege is an appropriate claim. This is an avoidance of public disclosure and an abuse of power. Thank you. But I'm always open to questions.
Brady, thought you quit. That was the last I had heard, that you walked out and said, I resign and I quit. I don't think that you've unresigned, which is required under Oregon statute to be done in writing. So frankly, I don't think that you should be here. You know, you clearly don't have the temperament to be on city council. And then, of course, there's something about Mary. That is, you know, you're beholden to a corrupt organization for $200,000 that you've gotten, which they had secret meetings, which you didn't want to disclose, and then you go on and have more secret meetings that you didn't want to disclose. You need to recuse yourself on anything related to tourism. You have no business talking about tourism. You've gotten money from a company, an organization rather, that has tried to steal the money directly, and they were open about it. They go, yeah, we need to take the money from Halloween Town to finance our own project. Mr. Mayor was at that meeting. Actually, you walked out on it, so you might have missed that part. But then they decided to have closed door meetings and have done it because, but now they're gonna have open meetings after I've complained because you've already got your money. So hey, I guess now we can be transparent. So that makes me pretty unhappy. Then you had your meeting on Monday, which you probably shouldn't have attended since you'd already quit. And you couldn't make a decision about whether you should change the language of the levy to match the increase in the rate. This is not rocket science. If you change the rate, you have to change the numbers, but you didn't have enough information? Really? I mean, for God's sakes, you change the numbers, you have to change the rate, you have to change the numbers. I personally think that the levy is a bad idea. I'm glad that we're gonna vote on it. Yay, I've only been saying that for how many years, that we should vote on it. What I don't like is the comment from Mr. Gunderson that says, oh, well, we want to hear what people have to say. We want you to vote on it, but if you don't vote the way we want, we're gonna bill you anyhow. That is like the definition of political corruption. To say that, yeah, we want to hear from you, but if you say no, we're gonna just go ahead and bill you anyhow. That's ridiculous. I mean, if they say no, they say no. That's it. That end of the story. I'm also opposed to this levy because frankly, it's not enough money. The levy should have been increased to the point that maybe even the whole 12.1 million that we've already borrowed, so that we can pay part of that money back. Move that money, which was the mayor's plan, to the waterfront, which is a good plan, frankly. And then have enough money to rebuild and remodel the police station as well as the cops. I do not want to have a levy that we pass and continue to be billed illegally on my water bill. That's just, to me, is stupid. And I don't think anyone is gonna pass it when they hear that. Yeah, you're gonna get a new property tax and we're gonna continue to bill the water bill. And if you say no, we're gonna bill your water bill more.
Point of order, Mayor.
That's all.
Point of order. Randy Preham has physically threatened me on his radio program. I would like our attorney to respond to that.
You hear that?
Yeah, I did. And I just want to make a comment that, you know, I sit with the Main Street. I do believe they're very fair and transparent. I know that Councilor Hubbard was, appointed after he received this grant. And the grant, well, he was definitely a qualified applicant. It's a new building right across from IGA. It's very, allowed him the ability to actually do some upgrades that, if you look at the front of it, and that's gonna be part of our urban renewal is just getting rid of some blight. It's done very tastefully. That was I will have to disagree with Ms. Preheim's comments as sitting on the Main Street board and the process, and I'm free to do that. You know, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you still being on this council and that your voice is definitely wanted, welcome, and needed. So you have continued to serve this community through, you know, with our planning commission, and have been a member of this community, you and your wife, for quite some time. And I hear nothing but good things out there about you, Russ. So I just want to give you that, at least from my standpoint. Okay. So we will look into that. Okay. Other visitor comments, please come on up.
Colleen Oler. Two things. First off, I want to thank Brandon very much for the words that he said at the end of the last city council meeting. I absolutely 137% took what you said to heart. And it has absolutely changed the way that I am addressing people. And in that same theme, Russell, I do apologize to you for the way that I spoke to you at the last meeting. I'm not sorry for what I said, but I sure am sorry for the way I said it. I don't necessarily agree with everything that you do, but if I can't have a conversation the way Brandon said that, then I shouldn't be saying anything to you. So whether you accept it or not, I am sorry, and it will never, ever happen again. Thank you very much for your work on my levy, especially John and Kathy. I really super appreciate it. And now that I learned how to write a levy, I have to learn how to promote a levy. Luckily, I have phone calls that I've been receiving from people who are willing to help. Brady, I don't care if you don't like it. I worked very hard on it and I want it to pass. And it will affect me because my home is paid for, so I will be paying for it. But I just want to thank you all for your work on it, especially John and Kathy, and once again, apologize to Russ and to thank you.
Thank you very much. I came back from vacation on that. It was a planned vacation for quite some time.
Don't care.
So,
Your town was distress.
what I will say is we were under the interpretation and Kathy had just made a simple mistake that we thought it was too late for a levy.
It's fine.
Because that definitely crossed our mind.
Yeah, well,
Councilor Gunderson had brought it up quite a while ago. And I think both levies will be equally important that are coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will definitely be an advocate on moving forward.
Yeah, I'm just glad I learned, because now I can be of more value to my city, which is all I want. I love it here. Anyway, thanks, guys.
Thank
you for all you did, Colin.
Hey, other visitor comments? Any online? Oh, I also want to state for the record that Council President Chilton is online. Okay,
Somebody is online, but I forgot to ask if they need to speak through visitor comments, so maybe you would say it.
okay, so if you're online and you would like to speak on visitor comments, now would be the time to raise your hand. So our city recorder can acknowledge you. There's one person listening in. So we're talking to you. Okay, all right, we're gonna go on to our first item on our agenda, which is an annual report from our city forester, Brent Keller, with Mason, Bruce, and Gerard.
Glad to see you turn the time clock off there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Good to see you, Brent.
Yeah, good to see you. My name is Brent Keller. I'm with Mason, Bruce and Gerard. Mason, Bruce and Gerard's a natural resource consulting firm, been around since 1921. And we've been managing the city of St. Helens Milton Creek watershed property since 2006. I just want to review 2023 activities and look at what we're looking forward to here in 2024 with a little brief overview of the log market and the inventory out there on the property and future planning and so forth. So had a busy year this year, got a lot of stuff accomplished. Had the Pinckney Road timber sale. It was a little over 80 acres. That harvest is entirely complete. It's about 2.5 million board feet harvested. Almost all that's Douglas fir, $1.2 million in income. We got a good bid price on that at $520 per thousand board feet for the Douglas fir. Early about this time last year, and you can see, you can refer to that map on page 6 of my little packet here. And that would show where that harvest is. The Pinckney Road one clear to the north there on that timber sale history map. Reforestation this time last year, and you can see that Smith Harvest Unit on that same map, was planted. We did a little bit of planting in there with some leftover trees in 2022, but mostly planted that, in 2023 with 40,000 seedlings. And then a major accomplishment was this almost 260 acres of slashing that we did. And you can see that on page 5 on that map of projects. And the units in red there were slashed. And that's done at generally an average age of about 10 years old. We'll go into those stands and evaluate whether they need to be treated for the brush. We don't spray except in an emergency situation like with a Scotch broom or something extreme, but in general we don't use herbicides on the property. So this is just hand work, going in and hand cutting all competing brush to prevent that brush encroaching or overtopping the seedlings. So we're all caught up on that. And then we pre-commercial thinned a unit. You see on that same map in section 20, where you see the number 20 there.
Can you scroll down?
We'll scroll down.
Way, I think, or maybe.
There we go, right there. Right next to that 20, which is a section number, that was a pre-commercial thinning unit. About 25 years old, it was overstocked and as it would be with no treatment since it had been planted. And so after thinning that, there's about 250 trees per acre. And that basically the volume is redistributed to the trees that are left. And so with this thinning, you want to accomplish is just not having the stand slow down. And so that's the last treatment we'll have in there until the final harvest that's somewhere 40 to 50 years old. 2024 activities, looking forward to reforestation of actually, we're not looking forward to it anymore because it's done. We got it done last month. That was one of the first, we were fortunate to get the seedlings lifted early and get out there in good weather and get it planted. Most of my other properties, now we run into this where it's kind of stalled, where it got really wet and it's hard to get started. They're slowly getting trees lifted again and we're getting back out to plant. But we got that unit done early on.
Are you concerned with the weather we just had out there on the replant? Because it seems like you're right before.
Right, yeah, we were before the storm and all that.
Is it something that somebody should go take an eye at? I mean, I don't know. I've never.
We've had quite a bit of experience of planting and then getting covered with snow. And being fine. That was a little more extreme, icy type of gorge weather. But we didn't have, where I've had the worst case scenarios is with real tender trees, like a 1-year plug that is real sensitive to wind or can really get desiccated and harmed from extreme weather like that. These were 2 to 3 year old trees that are pretty hardy. So right now they're okay. But that's another thing we do. We look at all the plantations every fall. So what we planted this fall, we do this for all the units. What we just planted now, this fall we'll go and do a regen survey, put in plots in that unit. If it's greater than 300 trees per acre, we'll figure it's planted at 450. If it's greater than 300, we'll figure, okay, that's good stocking. We'll go look at that same unit the next fall. If it still has 300, then we won't really look at it again other than driving by and figure, okay, it's off and running. But we got to get 2 good surveys in a row to feel comfortable.
No.
So if it's good 1 year, it's not good the next year, then we'll interplant and then start that 2-year survey over again, just to make sure that we don't go out there in 5 years and it's all brush. So we will evaluate what we just planted this fall, and between the weather we just had and who knows what will happen this summer,
Sure.
and all those factors, see how we're doing. So that reforestation is done for this year. I don't know if everybody's heard of the Private Forest Accord. It's a new agreement between a lot of the environmental stakeholders and industry to do some adjustments to the regulations and hopefully avoid ballot measures and going back and forth that way. And so out of that, we have increased buffer requirements. We've got increased steep slope considerations, and then more reporting on the state of roads and culverts and all your infrastructure. Now, with the city of St. Helens falls under the acres there for requiring this report, and then this 20-year plan to upgrade everything. But just the same, when you turn in a notification, you have to submit kind of a road assessment of the area where you're working. So we've gone ahead and just done the inventory. Just took a few days to get that all that data collected. We'll put it in a little database and some maps, and so we'll have that reference for the state of things out there, which is a good idea anyway. We want to be on top of our culverts and roads. And that's the advantage of doing activities out there at Harvest. It's in the course of that, we do a lot of that stuff as we need to anyway. So that road inventory is done, reforestation's done. The other activity this year, we've started, and I've talked about it for a few years, I want to get finally pinned down, is this management plan. We have a plan, we know what we're doing, sustainability wise, recreation wise, and the purpose of the property, but I just want to get that into a document and get that back before council to approve and get into the record and have as a reference for counselors as folks come and go and public has questions to be able to say, okay, this is our plan that we're anchored on here. So we're looking to pin that down. So I'm on page 2 now here, looking at the timber market analysis. And right now, the market's lower than it was this time last year. It's still a good market. I'd say you're getting towards pretty much average prices, getting closer and closer to that, being about the same as the 5 or 10 year average. And so we're about $600 to $750 per thousand average for the type of timber we have out there. At the bottom of the page where I talk about it, we did a sale, we get like in that $400 to $500 range, I think, conservative estimate per thousand. The difference there, just so there's no confusion, is that the bigger numbers are that's what they're paying delivered. We sold it like we do as on a stumpage basis. You'd see 400 to 500 because the bidder is got to pay for the logging. So that's basically the stumpage is the price you get net the logging cost. Like I say, this current trend is pretty good for logs. It's interesting. Lumber's really low, but logs don't necessarily track that, and I think they're elevated somewhat just by the supply and demand. There's just not a lot of logs out there between these new regulations and all of the volume was wiped out with the fires, and then there's more competition for domestic logs. There's obviously an export market that we can't participate in, but there's that competition. We're a net importer of lumber in the United States. And a lot of that came out of Canada, which is not that their industry and forestry culture and everything is kind of ended up people, and they've had transportation issues and lots of things so we're not getting the wood from there anymore. So the domestic market is really competitive. So even just to be in business, they have to pay a certain amount for logs, regardless of what their break even is on lumber. So even though we've got
something that lumber is down and everything that you just said, that majority of it used to come from Canada. That lumber's down and the logs are still kind of up there is.
Yeah, that's just what they have to pay.
Yeah.
So it's interesting scenario, which is good for a log seller.
Yeah.
To not be tracking that lumber market necessarily. You know, that this decline has come from this, you know, we got a flat housing market. I don't know, builder confidence is pretty, is still, I think, below 50 anyways. You know, housing starts are the average or below average. So, but the market is still pretty steady. And so I think that's the bottom line on the market now. If you, that we're seeing that 600, 750, you see higher prices in some spots, especially with export, but again, we can't export. So you'd be looking at $400 to $500 stoppage at this point. Look at page 3. Little bit of a typo here, or a little bit of a mistake. I talk about, we had a 4-year break in between the 2014 harvest when we cut virtually all the merchantable timber we had to generate some money for some projects. Then we took about 4 years off. So in the last 6 years, we've harvested a little over 360 acres. So that's 60 acres per year. The number here, so 72 acres per year, that's per sale. So the lower number is better, because if you look at, because annually, if we want to be sustainable at a 45-year rotation using area control, so harvesting 1/45 of the available harvest acres a year. You know, we're right at about 50 acres per year. We've been cutting over the last 6 years, about 60. But this is a rolling average, and we've done a great job, I think, capturing these peaks in the market, some record markets. And so maybe wouldn't have normally cut, we've gone ahead. So okay, let's do a cut to capture this market. And long term, I mean, we haven't cut out our inventory or anything. So that's what's going on in the last 6 years. We have about 2,100 acres of forest land. And, you know, the oldest timber is now about in the early 40s. There's roughly 200 acres greater than age 40. But you can see from the graph on page 4 how we're real good shape. In the next 5-10 years, you're going to have, you know, that's about 700 acres at least moving into that 40-year category. And it'll just keep going from there as far as, and the ideal forest would be all these bars are the same height. It's perfectly regulated, which we're moving towards. The worst case, at least to me, would be to have the far left bar be the tallest bar, which would maybe, and maybe that's what folks would want to do, depending on what they're dealing with. But I would, in terms of sustainable forest management, we wouldn't want to have all our acres in those young age classes. So for the, I think in perpetuity, with the way we're approaching everything, we'll be able to have a sustainable harvest program with, you know, a harvest, you know, annually or every other year. Some years it may be best to do a bigger cut. It's just more efficient. It's half the management cost, maybe, rather than going, well, we have to stick to this exact amount of acres annually. You could do twice as much one year, defer 1 year, although sometimes it's hard to resist. But anyway, whether we do it annually or semi-annually, we're on track for a real good sustainable program. And then finally, we do have, looking at the bottom of page 4, my conclusion here, you know, we've got 100 acres of readily available merchantable timber that you see on page 6 there. It's the blue hash marked area. It's actually either side of that recent commercial thinning or pre-commercial thinning. So that is readily available. Like I say, that we've kind of slightly overcut these last 6 years. We're in an average market now. You know, I'd recommend deferring harvest for a year or two. Just to let that, you know, these stands are still very vigorous and growing right now as you're putting on growth and value, so. I'd wait for another peak in the market. Could, at this point. So, any questions? Questions?
How common is it for cities in our area to have forest land? Is that fairly common here in the West?
It seems, it is, I think, to some extent. So we manage the city of McMinnville's watershed. They have about 6,500 acres since 1965. We manage city of Nehalem since the 80s. More recent years, we've started managing land for city of Seaside, and then over the years have done stuff for Banks, Manzanita. We're working with the Nesco, and that's not a city, but they have a water district. They're looking at some of those timberlands around there and Arch Cape. And so, yeah, I think more and more folks like these water districts are looking, and we'd kind of like to own our watershed area and not be fighting with industry and landowners, because most folks don't get their water off of land they own. It's coming from Portland, gets it from Bull Run, but that's Forest Service property. Or like Seaside's, they own like 1,000 acres. They own a chunk, and they own, of course, where their water facility is. But then it's most of the water is the catchment area is New Veen and where Oz are big industrial land. So it's pretty common, and we don't manage every city, unfortunately. But Forest Grove's got a nice watershed. Astoria property. So it's and it varies on how the management is of them, but yeah, so pretty common.
I was just gonna say, I appreciate you talking about sustainability and are trying to get to that practice of having, a sustainable yield, but also kind of timing and hitting those market highs, because sometimes, we can cut low, or if we let it grow for another year, it'll be 3% increases in massive 3% more volume to cut, which is a bigger number, right?
Right.
And the revenue that the city does receive has been, since 2014, has gone into the community development fund. It's a special revenue fund, and it's not all, it's not all net revenue. There's expenses for management, for planting, for just administration of it.
Right. Oh, good. Yeah, it's neat to see the pictures on the wall back here and the development going on. I know some of that's come from the timber money.
The near property, in part, was part
Mhm.
with some of those cuttings back from 2014.
Yeah, that was a big year there.
Good price, and it was a good timing.
So my only thing would be to the council would be this, is that we know that we have a lot of big projects going on, and that we can work our way out of our financial. There is down the road, a lot, but my question to you is that it's still a decent price. That's what I heard Brenton say. I mean, that's fairly decent. It's still above the 10-year average. That's what we try to base everything off of.
I think it's slightly above the 5-year average even.
Okay, slightly above that, so still at a pretty decent rate. Is it something that we're gonna need for future projects,
And you can discuss this. We got a window here. John could call me in 2 weeks and say, I think we're gonna do something. So
Yeah,
you have to decide the second.
yeah, I appreciate that. And I would agree with John that you have done a wonderful job in getting us to a sustainable, because it was really cuts that were just kind of erratic prior to Mason, Bruce and Gerard taking over, and we're getting to that looks very promising. So
Well, I applaud the city because see, that 260 acres is not free. So that's coming out of that project money that's tied to the timber sales. But I applaud the city for putting the money back into, because that's part of what will make it sustainable. So you drive by these stands that are thin and they're really putting on the volume. And so you're not going to get to age 40 with stagnant, patchy plantations that were overrun with brush and didn't grow vigorously. And so, it's a really good quality working forest out there. And a lot of that comes from the investment. So we're planting and interplanting and slashing and thinning and to ensure that you have this going forward. The logging's really fun and it's fun to, you know, cut trees and all that, but the real satisfaction is that like 5, 10 years after you cut. And now you drive by it, you don't have to, where are the seedlings, and it's growing good and it's spaced out well and. You're off and running there,
It was pretty neat to see that up on Mount St. Helens when all that happened. And it's, you know, you go up there for the tours and planted in 1980 and it was huge, you know, and that was all decimated. Completely.
so yeah.
Roosevelt, oh, gone. They're all having back full force, I mean, it's just amazing, what Mother Nature can do.
Can take a while.
A little bit of manipulation, you know, yeah.
They want to give Mother Nature a boost for sure.
I heard you say we have 100 acres that are available, would be available to cut.
That's in that,
But then you said this is not optimal price wise.
it's not as good as it's been. It's lower than it's been this last 6 years. I mean, I don't know, we were way over 100% over the 5-year average of one, I mean, it's,
Yeah, we hit it just right.
yeah, we hit really high. So that being said, that's off. So some folks they won't ever cut again until they see a record price. Well, that's not, you can wait a while on that one, but it's getting more and more right to get closer to that 5-year average. So, that's all I'd say. Relative to that high peak, we're lower than we've been, but I'm sure if I went back and looked at where we're at 2008 or 10, even with an adjusted for the times, it's still very good price.
And it seems like we're just a few 5 years out from another cut.
And then you see what was coming online, so that's your security there, but
That's pretty significant.
yeah, there's 700 acres. Will be merchantable within the next 10 years, not to mention then the other age classes are growing in, you know, so.
For thought, you know. Oh, Counselor Chilton.
Oh.
Hi, thank you. Okay, so my question is, John, can you explain what types of uses can come out of the community development fund? I'm just curious, you know, the elephant in the room is we're at a crisis here with staffing issues. Has there been any talk with Gloria about how this could possibly help with that situation?
Yeah, sure, thanks. So special revenue funds, you know, they're non-recurring revenues. We don't cut every year, so it's something that we can't factor into like a debt ratios as part of the funding. The funds as part of the conditions of the debt that we take on for projects, it has to earn, depending what it is, 120% or 130%. Is a debt coverage ratio. So we're bringing in more annual revenue, that fund to comply with the terms of the funding, whether that's a grant or a bond or what. You know, there's some workarounds where we can with that, but generally you don't use recurring expenses with recurring revenues. That's right in our financial policies. So I don't know if that helps, but.
Yeah, and I think that's the general idea that, you know, we've talked about, but I'm wondering if, you know, if we use this for some other funds, can we take some of those other funds and, you know, use it for police? If there's been any creative, critical thinking about this as a revenue source.
I will say internally, Gloria and I have been talking about that. So as a budget strategy. But generally it's not inconsistent with our financial policies.
Okay.
All right, well, any other questions for Brent? You do a fabulous job. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
So you gave us something to think about for a couple weeks here and,
Okay.
that's because I think, you know, just the nature of things, with all cities, I'm sure we're not alone. Sometimes you have to take from a piggy bank, right?
Sure.
And the city is just blessed to have a resource like the watershed just for recreational purposes and then for the harvesting, all of it's just a real asset.
Yeah, fishing and it's a really neat property.
It is, yes. Yep. Okay, thank you, Brent.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Okay, our next item is fiscal year 2023-2024 second quarter financial report. Financial Director Gloria Butch.
I think I give you a fairly broad financial report this time. Hit on all the highlights. We overall are right about at December 31st, right there about the 50% mark. Looks like property taxes are right there at the average at 94% for this time of year. And other than that, I don't see anything unusual other than, what I've already reported. The big, the big talk is our beginning fund balance and where we're gonna be at the end of the year. We are still working through all of that with our department heads and working on a budget. So, there's the beginning fund balance based on what we've got in the preliminary final audit. Looks like it's better than what I had reported in the first quarter. So
Good.
we've got that, yes. Other than that, I would just really entertain questions. If you've got questions, anything about anything that I've provided or anything that I maybe could provide that with more detail, I would certainly be happy to provide that.
Any questions for Gloria?
I just have a comment around the timing of the budget right here. We're just a little bit past 50% mark of our this year's budget. So, the further we get along, the more precise numbers we're gonna have. It's hard to do year-end forecasts when you're only halfway through the fiscal year. So.
Sure. Yeah, actually, that's a good point in moving forward, because a lot of people are asking that. You can't predict the future.
We're being pushed to.
Yes.
By the budget committee.
And if you could, you would be a financial wizard.
Right, we do our best with the information that we have before us. And then, we adjust as the final data comes through and we make our adjustments. But that's a constant thing. And we can never really truly plan on a surprise like Cascades. We might get a great surprise here in the next couple of months and somebody finally makes a definite decision on a development or something like that. So, it can go either way. But yes, we do our very best effort at forecasting what our ending balances are going to be so that we can as accurately as possible budget for the next year.
Council President Shelton, do you have any questions for Gloria?
I don't. Thank you, Gloria.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. On to our city administrator report. John Walsh.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So I'll start off by mentioning the Business Oregon grant that we submitted earlier, the semiconductor industrial lands program. And it's a program that will bring some funding, about $2.3 million funding towards upgrading the electrical services at the mill site, working with PGE to build, design for the substation. Whether it's Project Sprint moves forward, we need better electricity capacity than we have right now. The existing station's old. We need more capacity. The state has a program for this semiconductor program, so we're putting in some money for that. Hopefully we'll know within a month whether or not we get that money. And that money would fund design, acquisition of the property, and then project management.
So the current system there is it is not sufficient at all. I mean, it was amazing that they were able to operate to the capacity they were. So this is a huge deal for the city of St. Helens, no matter what happens on the industrial site, and getting this funding and moving this forward, and working with PGE on it. So it's a big deal. I just want to reaffirm, how important the work that you are doing is.
Absolutely. That is true.
Is big, so.
And there's a second application that Mayor alluded to earlier about the county leading it is revolving around the transmission, electrical transmission, same program. Different application to look at not only the power here at the site, but how it gets here, that working. Yeah. We need more power. The future of our economic development, in a lot of ways depends on it.
For Columbia County, period, not just St. Helens, this is for Columbia County.
Seems like all of the interests we're getting have big electrical needs. Project Sprint, the letter of interest extension that the council signed is till March 31st was well received by the Project Sprint team. Mohammed and Paul Bogle and myself just been tirelessly working on this to try to get to yes and remove barriers and get answers. We've been talking about getting down to the topics around business planning as far as lease rates and water rates and sewer rates and electrical costs. What this project could bring to the city is just super game changing. The not only the jobs and the investment and the utility usage, but the impacts to the city's finances, the urban renewal agency, and just becoming something different. We'll be a tech hub rather than a paper
So
community.
when do I have him going on the agenda for an update on is it next? Or is it the following that we scheduled?
The economic team update is coming up
Oh,
fairly soon.
it's next time,
It's
21st.
it's the 21st, so
Yeah.
we get an update on all that through Paul, just to let the council know that. Because you haven't been involved in a lot of that. Kind of just happen to be at the right place, at the right time sometimes and get informed, so.
Yeah, the project goes such a long way to address our financial challenges right now.
Yep.
And if for some reason that doesn't work out, there's several companies that have been approaching about starting the paper machines back up.
Great.
There's three different companies, and they've all visited or plan to visit soon. And that's something to think about too. So numbers, I'm still working on that and the runner-up site for the new police station. Got a letter of intent to go out to the property owner. If the council wants to do that, we can talk about that offline, but and there's other sites around the city that we may also want to consider that have been popping up too, so maybe we need to explore our alternatives sometime soon. The police levy is, the advertisement's out, it's due this Friday. Comment date. And things are all in place for that. Tonight we have an urban renewal agency meeting at 6 o'clock and here in this room, and so just on the logistics of the meeting,
Former
Council
President.
President Morton was the agency chair, and Councilor Chilton was the vice chair. Councilor Chilton needs to attend remotely, so the thought is that Mayor, you would perhaps kick off the meeting, and then we do chair, vice chair. You can take off from there.
Sure.
Yeah. So, okay. We met on Sunday with the St. Helens Police Association to kind of work through some of our outstanding collective bargaining agreements. That seems to be going well. Our next meeting's on March 15th.
How'd that go? I mean, because
It was-
apparently what I'm hearing out there is that for some reason, we're going to 24-hour service. Going to the collecting, we're going away from it. What I'm hearing out there through the rumor mill and being posted on Facebook. And it's kind of disheartening that people would assume they already know, we haven't got through the collective bargaining agreements of what. Right now, they're on contract to do 24-hour service, serve our community. So it's just, like I said, very disheartening to read, especially from people who are apparently in the know, that's what's happening. I mean, who's running the department? I haven't heard this from the chief. I haven't heard this from you.
So the meeting agenda was to address the cost of living adjustment in 2025, which was part of a memorandum of understanding that we entered into. It was to address the callback issues, scheduling, if we need to call officers out. And then there was duties of 2 positions that drug recognition expert, and also the canine handler. We had discussion, it was civil, it was productive. We're gonna meet back again in March to.
So it wasn't none of that.
It wasn't.
Okay. But put out by people who know quite a bit of stuff sometimes, that's exactly what it was about. Don't ask me how they know it. They sure do sometimes. I said, I hear things from, I'd rather hear it from the chief or you. First, as a counselor, as a mayor.
I mean, and part of the reason for talking about callback is in the event that we do get to a situation where we can't staff a 24-hour day. That's the result of that.
It's a reality.
We talk about that specifically.
Yeah. But to put out fear, you know, I'm gonna speak in my report a little bit more on this too, just about everything that's been going on. Put out there fear is not okay, and I'll speak more about it in my report, not just that, on everything that's been going on.
Switching gears a little bit, the the council's been supportive of my participation in outside agencies, developing nurturing relationships with other organizations, regional, state. And I'm on the Columbia Economic Team Board, City Managers Association Board. Just got off the League of Oregon Cities Board, a term of that. But as part of the coming off the board, I got appointed to the policy committee for the energy and environment policy, which is it's a good committee. It's this next month. It'll be a lot of Thursdays here. I'm the vice chair of the committee, so me and myself and Mayor Keebler at City of Bend is the chair. So working through some of the issues that are really germane to us right now, as far as electrical service capacity, transmission, and things of that nature. So I think it's time well spent. I hope you agree. We've also been, there's something called the RISIS program, which is going through the short session. It's a recapitalization of it's called Regional Significant Industrial Sites. And what that is a program where cities are available or allowed to recover their investments in industrial properties. If they put infrastructure in, they can get that money back. They're in this program. And the state's looking at capitalizing $40 million into that program. And it's not one of the normal, state giving you property tax abatement. This is actually state dollars that comes through the jobs that are created on the employment tax. So we put in a water line for $1 million, and we could get paid back $1 million over time coming in through the employment that comes back in. So it's really, a pretty good program. And we're advocating for that. Rachel's working on that. I have a RFP for realtor services next meeting at the 21st. It's all drafted, ready to go. Authorization, and that would basically engage a real estate agent, broker to market some of the properties that we have. Yeah, fair competitive process.
Everybody familiar with all the 4 appraisals that you've had? We saw them last one.
Yes. Yeah, I think I've shared that recently, but I can share that again.
Okay.
Then lastly, just, I've been here a long time. I just love this community. We've got a great staff, and just thank you for all your dedication and service to our community. This hasn't been the easiest year, but we're going to get through this. It's right. It'll be a bright future. I can see getting past this and having the waterfront done and having positions filled. Get back in a good place, especially with some of these industrial developments. Industry is the answer to a lot of what we're facing.
100% agree with that. Lost a lot of industry over the years.
And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. We'll go on to, council reports. We'll go with Council President Hilton.
Hi, sorry that I'm not there in the room. I'm a little under the weather. You might be able to hear it in my voice, but I'm just trying to wing it through here. But there was just a couple of things that I wanted to bring up in my report today. The first is the bullying. Ever since I got on this council, I was told that that was just a part of politics. And I just want to tell you that I don't condone it. The way Councilor Hubbard has been treated is absolutely not okay. It's not right, and it should not be allowed to happen. And it happened to me and it happened to everybody, but that doesn't make it okay. And I just want to say that it's not okay for you to come in to these meetings and attack people. And it's a really bad culture, and we should not allow it in our rooms, in our community, and just condoning it in St. Helens should not be a thing. So I just want to stand up for that. That's not right. And I don't think it should be happening in our council chambers. The next thing is I just want to, remind everybody that I'm a huge advocate for transparency. And I know there's a lot of stress happening right now in the community, and a lot of questions and a lot of frustration and just a lot of rumors. It's probably the worst it's been, again, since I've been on council. And I just want to remind people that how we get through that is being transparent. No secret meetings, no secret conversations. Try to do your best to change that type of behavior and be more transparent with the people around you. And that's not, directed at anyone in particular. I think it's just something that we have gotten into a bad habit of doing. And I just want to make sure that we remember that's how we get through this, is being transparent, because we're not doing anything wrong. I believe every person has a good intention for St. Helens, but it's about how you go about it. And so that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Sunday.
Some of the same thoughts, I guess. Just it's gone for a few days, so sorry I missed that meeting with the police, John. We were on the airplane coming home, so good to be back. Again, just want to thank everybody for being involved. There's a lot of passionate people in this community that care about St. Helens, and thank you for being engaged and being involved. I guess for me too, just a little bit disturbing is the lack of civility. Just in general, it's really bad, and it's taken a toll on me, and I think it probably has everybody here. But it should be okay to ask questions. It should be okay to meet with people and sit down and talk to people. As far as I know, that's what we're here to do. And just seems like so many of the things that should have been taught in kindergarten, don't call names and be nice, and so many of those things are just being forgotten about. So it's so much more helpful to me when somebody is part of the solution. Like I said before, I'm happy to sit down with anybody and talk, whether we agree, whether we don't. But it's so much more helpful for somebody to reach out to me and say, this is coming up, I'm concerned about this because this, I think you should do this, or have you thought about this? Somebody to be a part of the solution rather than afterwards coming here and saying, well, you're an idiot, what did you do that for? Well, sometimes people have changed my view on things if we sit down and talk and they share their opinion and I tell them where I'm coming from. So to me, that dialogue is so much more helpful than just the name calling and you're an idiot for doing that. So sit down, talk things out. Communication is key. Parks and Trails Commission is coming up next week. There's still one opening. I want to thank Dana for all of the hard work that she did as chair this past year. We've got a new chair this year, Lynn Pettit, who has been chair before, so did a great job, very engaged, and I'm sure she'll do a lot of good things this coming year too. So if you're interested in the parks, feel free to tune into that meeting. And I think that's it.
Well, thank you. Councilor Gunderson.
Well, first of all, we are all up here trying to solve problems, the big problems with the city. When it comes to funding, well, I'll use the police as the example that's been brought up. There are things that I support that other people do not support. That being said, it is not any intention to blackmail. It is not about corruption. It's more about spitballing ideas out there so everybody can understand where I'm at. Now, keep in mind, I'm only one vote. on this council. We are a team. If the team was to vote against what I supported, then that's what we get. I am not the be all end all. I'm not the dictator. That's not how I roll, and that's not how I view myself, and that's not how I want other people to view me. I am trying to come up with solutions. Some of them are popular, some of them are not popular. How that pans out and how that works out is for the council to decide as a team, as a whole, not me. You can feel free to take shots at me, but I'm with Jessica and I'm also with Brandon. I've had enough of the actions that people and words that people are using towards Counselor Hubbard, towards any of the council members, including John here. I'm not going to put up with it. We're here as public servants, not public punching bags. If it continues, I will get up and I will walk out the door. And if that means that a vote and I'm the tie-breaking vote and I'm not here, so be it. I'll take that risk. If that gets me kicked off the council, so be it. I'll take that risk. There's no room for that kind of behavior. I wouldn't talk to my bosses that way. I wouldn't talk to my children that way. I wouldn't talk to anybody that way. And it routinely happens in this chamber. I disagree with it. I think it's a horrible idea. I don't know what anybody gains from that other than personal satisfaction. So as we've all mentioned before, this council is a team. We should have each other's backs. We can agree to disagree, but we're here to fix some really big problems, most of them financial, and it's not easy. These are not easy decisions to make. Everybody that I've talked to has said, we appreciate what you do. We wouldn't want to be in your position. And yet they have all these opinions and ideas on what we should do. Yet they're not sitting up here. So if you're that adamant about something, if you would support that much, then run for council. See what it's like. Because it's not that easy. I lose sleep over it. I worry about it. Am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? And by the way, just because something is recorded and somebody takes that and writes that down, that is not the whole story. There's more to it than that. I can bring that up as far as the using the utility bill to fund the police. There is a lot. First of all, I don't know if there would be I would support a sunset clause on that. It would not be but that's not what I want. That's not what I want to do. I don't know what the council wants. But that's, if we need to fund police, that's something we need to take a look at. Sorry, it's reality. On the lighter side, I did get to go attend and I'm gonna butcher this, I should have written it down, but I did get to attend there was a celebration at the Armory for Notorious. It was a medal, and it was really a fantastic experience. I got to talk to the captain and some of the enlisted members. I found that very enjoyable. It was a very quick ceremony. I expected it to be a lot longer, but glad to see those guys out, support them every single time. They've got another tough job to do. I will be attending the Planning Commission. Jennifer Pugsley asked me to come back, and we discussed this. I will. So next Monday I will be there. I won't have anything to report because it always happens after the reports always happen after the meeting. So that being said, I hope that clarified my points and where I'm at on things. We do make tough decisions, and we are a team, and we aren't here to be punching bags for anybody.
I think, we had spoke a little bit, Councilor Gunnarsson, just on the, going back to the Planning Commission. You were asked to come back by the Planning Commissioners, and that I said, that's fine, as long as you, when it comes to decisions that we have to declare ex parte contact, and, your participant, you usually don't, on any decisions, any councilor in the past has never participated in the discussion piece of planning commissioners, but.
And I have not either.
But yes, but it does, in my opinion, when it comes to us, and you've heard other evidence, it needs to be declared. So, and you're fine with that, and so.
I will declare it every single time there's a planning consent.
Yeah, when it comes, yeah. Okay, Councilor Hubbard.
My focus is on employment and getting people back to work. I spent my Saturday with a company from Indonesia, walking through the plant and discussing everything they needed and what they expect. And then in a couple of days, I spent all day with another company out of California. that is looking at the plant, and that is an all-day process. So, there's another one more, from India, which I haven't heard about yet, but, I know they're interested, so I'm doing that, and then, working on, the effects of the solar, plant going in and what that has for power issues with the PUD. There's a lot of excitement about that, and the PUD is quite affected by their needs, and so it's needs to be thought through, and I'm working with the PUD on that and finding out more how that PGE being the big guy there and supplying them, is that gonna be, what kind of effect with the PUD? Because that's the city and that's this area, that's all the rest of it, so. That's a very complicated and interesting situation, so that's what I'm doing.
But I think, I mean, I'm just speaking for myself, man, but I think I could, anybody else could chime in, that they have our full support, and anything that we can help in and get behind, knowing the power needs to the PUD, that anything that we could, whether it be a resolution, whatever they would need in support of the power needs, I feel strongly about putting that up, if there's something that they need.
Yeah, no, we're,
Any letters, recommendations to the state, to the governor, to the whoever we need to go to.
it's the PUD, is amazingly, healthy financially. And, we can put people on to look into things that need to be done, and so.
Yeah.
I think we're a partner with all of the city of St. Helens. And so this is just one that is not us, but it affects all of us.
All right, thanks, Russ. Okay, my first thing I'd like to talk about is Citizens Day. I'm gonna be meeting with we used to have staff, and it takes quite a bit of work, and coming up on, it would be June 22nd. And the Highway 30 cruisers always do their car show. We utilize our staff in a lot of different areas for helping out with vendors, to getting tables moved, but the nice thing about this whole thing is that we have the sponsors that donate pretty much everything other than about $1,000, I think is what we figured roughly, just to be safe. And that's covering half the food costs from IGA for the burgers. The deal is council willing to reach out to other nonprofits, and I think I can get the Highway 30 cruisers, which meets tomorrow night. This is their annual car show that they always do. The band is free. They come set up all the music. Reach out to CERT and the Kiwanis to see if they can help out. It doesn't have to be as big as it was last year. It can just be a nice day in the park. What it was really created for was getting off your devices. Doesn't have to be a bunch of vendors. It can be a little bit of music, some burgers, enjoying the park. Probably by then the Japanese garden will be a little bit cleaned up. And that's a cool project, I think, that's going on. There's been a lot of work done over there too, by the way. The park's looking, it needs a little bit of work, but it's looking, it's got good bones over there. So I just wanna run this by the council that it's not gonna cost a whole lot of money, but it's gonna require us participating a little bit more heavier in volunteerism and getting at least a few volunteers each to help make this happen. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a big, huge event. And it can be if we get the people who want to try coordinating vendors. And I would not deny any vendors. Gonna have an idea of where they go down the middle, down the side, each side, and then we leave some handicap parking in the lower park. And then regular parking up above. It's good for the citizens, and it's good for just our whole city. For the less than $1,000 that we would spend on it.
So are you asking us to get volunteers or are you asking us to do what we did
I'm
last year?
asking for the approval of $1,000 to spend on this and also that, we at least be there helping and try to get some volunteers. I'm going to reach out and we'll have a follow-up with the Highway 30 cruisers. We as an obligation should really reserve that park and get it reserved, have staff reserve it right now. Because of the car show that this is an annual thing they've been doing for quite some time. They're a nonprofit. They actually sponsor kids with their revenue, for college in mechanics. And I think they actually did 3 last year. So definitely want to reserve the park for that date, no matter what.
It's already done.
Yeah.
If you'll notice in the third column, anything that's already done is marked. And you'll see names on there, but I have a lot of people that have said they can't help this year, due to workloads and
Yeah.
other things going on. So even though it might have someone's name, no one's really doing it. That's based on last year.
It's just because, you know, I mean, we ended up paying, staff to help out and, that's just not feasible and it's not, you know, I know we can get, I'll reach out to Highway 30 volunteers and see, or, Highway 30 cruisers and see if they can help volunteer. They got a big thing that they're setting up too, but I think there might be a little extra help there. I also, could reach out to the Alano Club, which is a nonprofit we support. They lease a building from us and see if I can get some volunteers there. And I'm sure I can. Is everybody committed to trying to help out and get volunteers where we can?
I'm happy to help. That's the big takeaway I remember from our post Citizens Day meeting last year is that it was getting to be too much for the staff, so.
Yeah.
And they needed us to do a little more, so I'm happy to do that. And then I remember also we discussed maybe talking to our boards and commissions and seeing if they're.
Yes, we
willing to
did.
help.
Yes, that's a
And
good
I think
idea.
I did at the time mention it to the Parks Commission and they said they'd be happy to help with food or help set up or whatever's needed. So I think people will help. I think we just need to ask.
When is our annual recognition coming up for our boards?
That one second.
Okay, but it's losing some breath this week, doesn't it? April. Okay, could we send a, down to the library board, you know, and all them, that even the Friends of the Library, which is huge and vast too, to see if there's any interest in volunteers and all our boards.
I think too, it'd be helpful to get an idea of what's needed. So if we're asking for volunteers, what are we gonna tell them they would be doing? So that would be helpful before we.
I would say, yeah, okay, so that in moving forward, I will kind of work with staff. I know setup is probably gonna be, and I would like to see it like this, where you could do a setup crew and a tear down crew. Just so people that are volunteer can break away from their shift and enjoy and participate too.
If we could get a ballpark number of
Yep.
setup, tear down, and then whatever else we need volunteers, so we have a number so that,
We definitely can get that, right, girls? That's something we can do. Yes, well, because they were in charge of it last year. They did a lot of work too, and thank you for all your hard work, by the way.
Maybe plan on a few more burgers this year too. I know we ran out.
Yeah, that's why I said 1,000.
A lot of our volunteers didn't get to eat, so.
Yep.
I do just want to make a comment on behalf of at least Lisa and I. Our office has been bombarded with a lot of public records requests. And Lisa has been spearheading most of those, and it takes her hours and hours every single day to go through emails and correspondence. And so it's just consuming a ton of time, which means there's things that I'm taking on that I would normally give to her. So we are just super, super crammed and really busy. And that's why we talked to Rick about, not spending that time. I mean, I would come and volunteer on the day that it is, but to do it during work hours is almost impossible.
Yep.
So I appreciate that
I
you're.
appreciate both of you. I know that you have been infiltrated with public records requests lately. definitely appreciate and, would love just to having some numbers from people. I think we can do that for everyone. So thank you. Okay, you know, I guess I'm gonna go with the, you know, kind of echo what everybody else has been saying, and we created this code of conduct, back in, let's see, what was the date on it? June 7th of 2023. And, you know, I know a lot of people out there aren't probably affiliated with the city that are getting into the back and forth or that show up and give testimony. But I just think that we need to hold some of the people who are either on one of our boards or commissions or even contract with the city to a higher standard, you know, and that, I was looking at this and reading through it, and it's actually really good stuff. I mean, it was, you know, we created this, not to take anybody's, First Amendment right. That is not what it says in here. It talks about having integrity and accountability and, some morals is basically what it talks about, you know, having just a little bit of respect. And, I think there probably be a few things in here that could align with more, I don't know, on social media, because I don't see a whole lot in here, that refers to that, but I think we have a really good, resolution here that, if people didn't want to sign it, I would question why are they even wanting to be on a board or commission of the city? Because I think these are high standards, the highest and finest qualities of human beings that our city should represent, such as kindness, humility, honesty, and transparency. I don't think those are bad qualities to have, and that's all it really talks about. You know, I'm not very happy with what's in our community. You know, one thing I know is people want to feel loved. They want to feel secure and they want to have fun. And I know the secure and the having fun have both under fire, and they've actually been pinned against each other. And there hasn't been any love in that discussion at all. So I'm saying bring back the love that our community has, that we are all on the same team. We all just want to feel loved, secure, and have fun. Please don't take that away from me. That's all people want in life. That's all humans can survive on that. They go days and weeks without well, not water, but days without food. You know, basically for the love of life, to live. It's just really disheartening, what's going on. We are not unique in our financial situation. There are a lot of other cities that are facing the same thing we are. Thank you for the federal government for giving some ARPA funds out to all cities. If you're bigger, you have bigger problems. If you look at them, they have bigger deficits than we have. And you know, we're gonna get through this, is what I know. That it is a we, and it always has been a we up here. And I really am happy with the conduct of this council, not getting out there and chiming in. I'm not happy with some of our employees, former employees, some of our contractors, some of our people on boards and commissions. I'm not very happy with that. I'm just not. It's not really, it's really disgusting to look at it all. I quit reading it because it was affecting me. I know my heart's in the right place. I know what's in front of me. I know what the right decision is. I do not need to be emailed or pushed on Facebook. You're more than welcome to come talk to me civilly and try to change my mind or have me look at it in a different view in moving forward. That's always an option on the table. You are allowed to have your public testimony. I don't know what to say. It's freedom of speech. We have to allow everybody their 3 minutes up here unless they're actually physically trying to do harm to somebody. We cannot trespass them. And I've been accused of that in this meeting, of threatening to have people arrested. I have never, ever told anybody they could not have their public comment, period. It was a public hearing. You know, what I do know is that, you know, we have a couple levies that are coming up that I definitely support. I think the safety of our community, I think they're both good ones. One is about keeping criminals in and one is about getting the criminals. One is from the city and one is from the county. We need to start working on campaigning those together. I don't know how that looks. We have to get along. There is no longer a divide between county cops and city cops. We have 20 and 20 officers. We have 20 at the county and we have 40 officers that serve our community. And yes, we want a few more and we want to make sure our criminals get put in where they need to go and be held there and accountable for their crimes. So I hope, and I'm the only one who spoke on this, that we can start getting behind these levies immediately and start getting the word out there that it's pretty important. The city does need a little help. We have some retirees coming up. We need a little help. The county is gonna need some help with keeping the criminals in the jail system. Catch and release does not work. It happened once before. It was not good. So I think they're both equally important. And I'm sorry to be very critical, but there's been a lot of things said about myself. And John Walsh, I want to commend you on all the hard work you have done. You've kept a level head through all this. You continue to be stable for our staff. And I want to tell all our staff that we care about each and every one of you deeply. And we are looking at this budget. We're going to be talking about a bunch of different options. We care and value each and every employee in this city. Don't believe everything you see on Facebook. I can put up a picture of, I just went on vacation and I apologize that it wasn't announced. I can put up those pictures and show you how much fun it was there and show you the highlights. But what I won't show you is that in Florida, it was 32 degrees one morning, that it rained. You didn't get to see those days. You get to see the highlights of it. Same in reverse. You can see the complete negative. You want people to see by the way you draw it up and put it out there. And there's been a lot of negativity on Facebook. Okay? A lot. And it needs to stop. And I hope somebody grabs my words right here and critiques it and spins it into something bad because you'll just prove me right. And I think that was the census of this entire council is what I heard. So I'm happy to serve with each and every one of you. So we're going to be back here at 6 o'clock for urban renewal meeting and we are adjourned.